Hello, everybody. Welcome back to NFTV Extra. And this is a video I didn't think I'll ever make, to be honest with you. War affecting football. We all know, and if you haven't seen it, you must be living under a rock. That's the crisis in Ukraine, where Vladimir Putin has taken his Russian troops into Ukraine and has basically went against international law. I don't have to get into politics about it. We all know it's wrong and people are losing their lives, which is an absolute disgrace. That's all I want to say on the matter. But I wanted to talk about football is going to be affected and is affected already because of this, and it potentially might come to the UK where it'll affect English clubs as well. And I think, of course, with the stuff that I want to talk about today, it's very likely that things like the Champions League final, which could effectively have an English side in there. I'm going to share the screen. I wanted to go through some of the things that are happening, which look at it, it's worrying. Of course, it is for a lot of footballers, and I'll put it loud. I'll put it at full screen so you can actually see it, and we'll just go like what the war is affecting with football in general, because football is a massive escape. It is for me personally. It is for millions of people around the world, and there's a lot of people, including Ukrainian players who play in the UPL, who are very, very worried of what's happening with Russia. Of course, if it clearly makes sense that the Ukrainian league has been suspended due to the war with Russia. Of course it does, and they've suspended it, and it's been suspended for 30 days. And it just obviously it just makes sense, of course. It is worrying, of course it is, with the war, and they've got to suspend it because the safety of spectators is first and foremost. So that's the first thing that's happened. And if it kind of follows on to, and this was really, if you haven't seen this is Brazilian footballers who are based in Ukraine are asking for help from the Russian government. Sorry, not the Russian government, the Brazilian government, I beg your pardon, to get out the country. And there's a lot of, Ukraine's, especially the big two clubs, Dynamo Kiev and Shakhtar Donetsk, have had a lot of Brazilian influence because it's their way to get them into Europe from Brazil. And there's a lot of talented players who predominantly played for Shakhtar in recent years, and that's the area of Donetsk, one of the two areas that Vladimir Putin has labelled as independent, which again is against international law. But it's worrying because you've got a lot of footballers who are worried and want to get out of the country, like many other people in Ukraine who are escaping to nearby countries. Some are trying to get to Poland, some are trying to cross over Moldova, Belarus, and so on. They're trying to escape and head west, and there's a lot of people who are scared and leaving their properties and just leaving everything behind. And whether you're rich like Brazilian footballers are, but they will be paid handsomely, easy for me to say, is to get out of the country, and they worry they want to get out of Brazil because they're fearing for their lives. So, it is very, very worrying, but it is starting to affect football. And this has only been, you're talking a couple of days with this one, things develop all the time. And, the Champions League final is, as I say at the top of the show, is being held in St. Petersburg. And that's, without a shadow of a doubt, that is going to be moved, and this is on Sky News. Of course it's going to be moved. I mean, how can you have a final in St. Petersburg when Russia is invading another country, and you could potentially you've got 4 English sides who potentially can get there, and you can't imagine English fans going to Russia because you're just asking for trouble. Probably from both sides, in all honesty, you'll have a lot of English fans who probably had a few drinks and be maybe a little bit daft, and you'll have the Russian troops and what have you, more so from Russia, of course. But expect the Champions League final. It's not official yet, but that's probably going to be from tomorrow. But you kind of say it there. It's going to be moved. It's going to be moved to an area probably more Western Europe, you would think, maybe, because I know Wembley's had it a couple of times, maybe a Spain or a Portugal or a Germany or even Italy to some extent. So UEFA have gone on to say, following the evolution of the situation between Russia and Ukraine, the UEFA president has called an extraordinary meeting on the executive committee for 10 o'clock CE time on Friday, which is tomorrow, in order to evaluate the situation, take all necessary decisions. So we are expecting that to be moved. And as I say, it's horrible. I wanted to just highlight how war affects not just obviously people's lives, of course, because that's priority, but it affects the sport that I love, and I love making football videos, and it's affecting other people's. And like I say, it's meant to be a release. And you remember the lockdown that we had, and we didn't have football for 3 months, and how that affected everybody. And the release, then when it came back, that we had football playing behind closed doors but live on TV, was still what a relief it was. And obviously, this is starting to take effect across all of Europe. So it's not just Ukraine, because it's affecting now English clubs. And I wanted to move on across to Schalke, Schalke are actually twinned. Well, Gelsenkirchen, where Schalke play, are actually twinned with Newcastle. And of course, they've removed the sponsor, Gazprom, who are, of course, Russian. So they have removed it. And Schalke obviously got relegated from the Bundesliga, but they've removed the sponsor from their shirts because Germany have obviously spoken out against it with obviously the NATO and the United Nations. Of course, Germany have spoken out against it, a bit like the UK, America has, and so on and so on. But they've pulled the sponsor. And look, it's small things, of course, but the government and from all the governments across all of the big power nations are trying to do something about it. And these are small hits towards Russia. We know obviously Germany came out and expressed that they're going to pull the pipeline for the gas to come through, and obviously UK have put sanctions on as well. And it goes on to another thing as well, that Poland, Sweden, and Czech Republic are opposed to playing World Cup qualifiers in Russia. And again, that's just down to safety, because they've got qualifiers which are going to end up playing in Russia, and obviously they're not going to take fans across. Of course not. You'd be stupid with what's happening. But it's a safety of the players and the squads, the staff behind the closed doors, the officials, even people, even it could go all the way down to paramedics and what have you. And they've called out that they don't want to, as you can see on this article, Russia is due to host Poland in the semi-finals in the World Cup playoffs in March 24. And if the team advances, it's then scheduled to either host Sweden or the Czech Republic on March 29th. So yeah, they've come out and talked about it. They don't want to play in Russia, and I totally get it. Safety is priority now. Expect UEFA to fully change that. I don't think they'll discipline the Russian football team, because it's not their fault that their country, their, shall we say, regime is going against a lot of what they're talking about, because there's a lot of Russian people who are against this war, massively against it, and they've obviously protested in big cities across Russia, as in Moscow. You'll probably see it across all the big ones, St. Petersburg and what have you. So yeah, we're not blaming Russian people. It's the federation, that their government, and they've got a madman in charge who's running the show and wants to invade other countries, which, of course, as I say numerous times, it's affecting everybody's lives. And there's other stuff around the football world that is being affected as well. So these are some of the other stuff as well. We'll just scroll down, because if we look at here, Sky Sports News has contacted the Scottish FA regarding the World Cup qualifier against Ukraine at Hampton Park on March 24th, and the 2 UEFA Nations League games in June against Scotland, of course, so against Ukraine, because it's not just that, the safety of Ukraine. You can't really play in Ukraine either, can you, because of what's happening there. And of course, the Irish FA, so they're working with the government, UEFA, and the Ukrainian FA over another Nations League clash as well. Boris Johnson's announced that Russian airline Aeroflot is banned from operating in the UK, and that's one of Manchester United's major sponsors. So again, as much as money as Manchester United got, they fly Manchester United from home to home and away. And we've already touched upon these as well. And Sky Italy are reporting that Shakhtar Donetsk's Italian manager, Roberto Di Zebri, is currently stuck in a Kiev hotel alongside 8 staff members. Again, that's worrying for them. Moving on to Formula One. Formula World Champion Sebastian Vettel says he will not race in the Russian Grand Prix this season. As the sport says, it's closely watching the event, and I'm a big F1 fan. Come on, Team Ferrari, we look mint and testing. But yeah, I'm a big Formula One fan, and he doesn't want to race. And obviously they're watching it, and obviously we've seen the Klitschko brothers released a video today, urged the international community to stay united against Russian aggression. I've also seen the President Alexander Dukov, president of the Russian Football Union, is expected to speak out against UEFA's must stress, UEFA's decision. Of course he's going to say that. He's Russian, isn't he? And then I think I've seen a tweet from Andrei Shevchenko today as well, who of course is Ukrainian national team manager. So as much as it is on the wider scale, of course, football plays a very, very, very small part in what's happening in Ukraine, but it is affecting the world of football on a small scale. Of course, as I say numerous times, I'll keep echoing it. People's lives are being lost. That's more important. People are worried. People are fleeing from the Ukraine. And obviously there is the Western countries such as the UK, the USA, Canada, America, same country, America, USA, Japan. There's loads of countries, France. They've all spoken out against what's happening because at the end of the day, nobody wants war. But yeah, I thought I'd just bring this up to speed over here on NFTV Extra, what's happening in the world of football and how it's being affected by war. But hope everybody who is affected, you know, or loved ones, family members, if you've got anybody who's affected by the situation, my heart goes out to all of you. But I'll leave it as there. Thank you very much for watching here on NFTV Extra.